So we are so excited today to do this, and we've got some great people with great insight, agents who have really set themselves apart from their competition over the years, and I'm so excited to have them here and be willing to share with us. I'm actually, when they come up, I'll let them share a little bit more about themselves, because I know many of you know these guys, but as is always a reminder, I always say this to George when he repeats his stories. I always have to remember there's someone that's never heard it. And so some of you may not know these agents, and so we're going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. But let's welcome to the stage Aaron Mailer, Chad Wagstaff, and Doug Carey. Yeah, wow. Doug's got a front row. That's pretty exciting. Well done. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today. This is going to be great. You all have your microphones. Maybe just share with everybody really quickly, and we'll start with Aaron. Tell us just a little bit, your name, how long you've been selling real estate, and just a little bit about who you are and the business that you do.
Okay, I'm Erin Mailer, and I've been selling real estate for 11 years now. I've been with Everest for, I think, 8 years of that. And gosh, about me, I don't even know where to start, you guys. You know me, you know there's a lot. I have 4 kids. I am a single mom, and I only for about a year now. But I really love what I do. I love helping people. To me, it's always been about the relationships and the connections that I make with people and helping people. So I kind of walk to my own tune and do things my own way, and I'm a little bit unconventional, so bear with me as I try to explain the crazy way that I do things.
Wow, well, we're more excited than we were 5 minutes ago. Hey, Chad.
I'm Chad Wagstaff. I have been at Everest for 9 years, and I'm part of the elite team. I just kind of got my real estate career started and came over to Century 21 and learned how to sell real estate, and I've gone on to get a few awards and sell a lot of homes, and I've been able to build some wealth through investing in real estate, so I love it. Happy to be here.
Awesome.
I'm Doug Carey. I'm in the secret Layton office.
I'm gonna let you out, Tom.
No, I don't. I've been selling real estate for 17 years now. Been with Everest for 7 since they opened the Centerville office just a little after that. And I have 4 kids and a wife.
Awesome. Okay, cool guys. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about your actual business. So if you have these numbers, that's phenomenal, or even an estimation would be great, but would love to have you each comment on a few quick things to get a baseline on where some of your answers are coming from. So number 1 would be, how many transactions did you close last year? How many transactions will you close this year? And what is like the main source of your leads in the business and the way you're working that? Make sense? Okay, so let's start with Aaron, and last one. If you know the ratio of buyers versus sellers, or an estimation.
Okay, so last year I closed 34 transactions. I also went through a divorce, so it's a lot that year. This year
She has a fan club too.
We can talk after. This year I closed 27 and I'm on track. My goal is to do 35. Last year, about 1/3 of my transactions were listings and 2/3 were buyers, and this year I'm a little closer to 50-50. And then my transaction amount went up significantly this year, which has been awesome. So now it's going back down. Now it's all gonna level out. It'll probably be about the same, but what was the other question?
I think you hit them.
Okay, great.
Well done. So this year, I'm at 27 transactions also, actually. It's about 17 million in volume. Last year we closed 40 deals, and last year I was exactly 50-50 on buyers and sellers. This year, I'm at 40% listings and 60% buyers. I was looking at it today. And my goal is to get to 52 transactions in a year. I'm a little bit behind, but that's my goal.
You can do it, Chad.
Oh, thank you.
Last year I closed 72 deals. This year I'm at 48 closed and pending, so I'm behind last year. My goal is I should be able to hit 65. Probably just shy of $1 million. A big goal.
Yeah.
And let's see, I'm 60-40, 60% listings, 40% buyers. And I have a couple of buyers agents that work with me, and I don't, as of, I think it was June, I stopped working with buyers altogether except for a few VIP.
Yeah, love it. So Doug, I'm gonna stick with you for just a second. What's your main source of leads that you'd say, like when you're showing up to the office? And, well, maybe actually I'll back up a little bit. One of the things Doug is really well known for is his, I would say, for sure, his diligence and his discipline in the world of prospecting. And if there's anything I know about him is that I know he's showing up every day and he is making his calls. In fact, he kind of joked about the secret Layton office, and I was so impressed with him when we were making some adjustments to the Layton and Centerville and all this stuff going on. His number one focus at the time, amidst a lot of nonsense that he could have been focused on, was on continuing to keep his business heading in the right direction and prospecting. And so, Doug, number one, where does that discipline come from? Have you always been that way? And if not, when did it turn for you to start becoming so disciplined in the world of prospecting?
I think it's kind of always been that way. I mean, back in 2006, I went to my first night Carey retreat or event, I guess it was local, and I got joined coaching, and I started prospecting immediately. Is Leah Kruger in here? Leah? No, she's not. So Leah was my broker at the time, and I had a cubicle, and I stood up, and I was loud and annoying, and they quickly got me an office. I didn't deserve it. And thank you, Leah. And so, yeah, I just treat it like a job. Like Carey taught me that long ago, show up at the same time every day and spend that time generating leads in the morning. And I've done it for so long that if I don't do it, I feel guilty. And I don't feel like it's a day's work.
Yeah, so basically, if you're not prospecting every day, you don't feel like you've gone to work that day. Yeah. All right, that's great. Chad, talk to us a little bit about your prospecting routine, the lead source that you focus on, and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so when I first started on our team, I was calling internet leads, which were basically just people who had signed up on a website, kind of warm people looking for homes. And I did that really religiously, consistently for about 4 years. And during that time, I kind of built up my SOI. And so now, the last 4 or 5 years, I've just been working my SOI exclusively. And that some days, most of the time, is very disorganized and not like amazing or systemized, but I've been able to kind of focus on how to serve my friends and family and my past clients, and I'm lucky that they come back to me, and so I've been able to have a lot of repeat business and referrals, and that's what feeds my business now. I am in coaching right now and reintroducing some dedicated time to prospecting again. I kind of got as far as I could, kind of doing it without a system. So I'm eating a little bit of humble pie and scheduling that back in, and lately I've been calling just solds around my stuff. But that's only something I'm just now adding back.
Very cool. All right, that's great. Chad, will you talk a moment though, because you talked about your first experience. I mean, when you were calling the web leads and kind of getting involved, but you were doing stuff before that wasn't active. I'm kind of curious because you were a newer agent and spent some time and things weren't working out. I guess We've probably got some newer agents in here right now that may be struggling, maybe it's working for them, maybe it's not, but just, I'd love to have you share a little bit about what changed for you there and.
Yeah, so when I first came to Everest, I was on a different team, and they had a pro agent website, and they had people that had kind of signed up on a website, and so by my first day, they just dumped like 400 leads into my inbox, and we're like, here, call these people, right? And I was new and I didn't have a lot of training, so I didn't really, I mean, simplistic things now that I look back, but at the time I was just kind of like overwhelmed. I had no system, I had no idea kind of how to handle these leads, and I would just kind of call them in a list order. I had no kind of concept on how to kind of work smart. I was just kind of dialing random numbers at the end of the day, but anyway, I ended up getting fired from that team. A lot of you may have heard this story, but anyway, I just came in one day, it was in September, and they just were like, oh, hey, do you have a sec? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And they're like, yeah, this isn't like working for us, and it's not working for you, so.
How do you feel things are going?
Yeah, I was just like blindsided, like I'm such an achiever, I'm just like, I've never been fired, I was like not doing well at real estate, but I just was shocked, you know? But anyway, I ended up, through that experience, being able to meet Dave Parker and join the elite team, and the difference there was that he had a system to assign a few new leads every day. And this really basic thing kind of is what created a really good schedule for me, because there was new people to call every day, not very many, but a few, and that started to compound. And once I clicked into that system where every day I'd go to morning ascent, at 8 a.m. I would hit the phone calls. I always just kind of thought in my mind, if someone is going to be able to qualify to buy a house, they wake up at 8 in the morning, or, you know what I mean? So, that was always my thought. So I would prospect from like 8 to 11, 8 to noon, and then do all my appointments in the afternoon. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And that's a cool journey, because now, you know, Chad is really influential in helping bringing new agents on and helping people achieve their goals and dreams at a different level, and leads out on the team and stuff, which is so cool. So, Aaron, so prospecting, what does that look like in your world?
Do you want to know?
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the things that I have consistently done well for years in my business. I have monthly mailers that go out, so I'm marketing monthly mailer, and I have had clients call me that are like, we get your mailer every month and we never forget about you, so we're calling you, we have a need. I've been really good about client appreciation events, and even during the pandemic, when we couldn't do those anymore, I would be really creative about something to keep in touch with my clients. So I went to Handles and bought a bunch of free ice cream codes. Said, I can't bring you to the party, but I'll bring the party to you. And I mailed out these cards, you know, handwritten notes with gift cards. And my philosophy for me personally has always been, I'm gonna spend the marketing money that some agents spend on buying leads online, and I'm gonna spoil my clients rotten with the same amount of money. So I'm an SOI and referral-based business. That's my bread and butter. What I am not good at all, despite Judy's best efforts, is prospecting on a regular basis and calling even just my SOI to keep in touch with them, following a system. I'm not. I'm good at showing up to the office on time, relatively. There's a window from like 8 to 9, okay? But I come in the morning.
Chad's buying a house
Yes.
window, which is great.
Exactly. I drop kids off to school, I come to the office, sometimes there's a coffee stop on the way, sometimes there's not. So I get to the office, I do come to the office every day. And that started a few years ago when I knew I needed to set some better habits. I had an opportunity to manage one of our offices in Orem, and I knew it was a lot for me to take on at the time, but I also knew it would force me to keep a schedule. And it did, and that was a turning point for me. Showing up to the office every single day, for me, has made a huge difference, because when there's a real estate need, I'm at the office in front of my computer ready to act on it in that moment, and people want an immediate response. So even though I waste a ton of time, you'll see me all over that building. I waste a ton of time. I'm there at the office, and I do get more work done that way than I would at home. But I always wonder, if I were disciplined in my schedule, what can I do? Like, what would be possible? What would my numbers be if I could just be disciplined in that one area of my life? I have a lot of improvement to do.
Interesting. Do you hear that, Judy? She's just begging.
I've been 7 years strong with Everest coaching in this one, and she hasn't given up on me, so we'll see what we can make happen.
Well, Erin's teasing. I know she's highly disciplined, and obviously you don't reach the level of success that she has if she were not. But I will say that's a pretty cool thing to hear from someone. Still teachable, still coachable, still wanting to improve and feel like, man, I could probably be better. So that's really cool to hear.
There's no probably, we can all be better.
Yeah, everyone, yeah. I will interject one quick thought here and an observation for those of you wondering. I mean, I see these three, and Erin mentioned that she shows up to the office, and all three of these guys show up to the office regularly. And I had that thought recently, actually, when we were here with Brian Burnett last month. He shows up to the office. As I look around the room, I see a lot of these top producing agents who, guess what? They show up to the office a lot. And it's bizarre because you think, oh, well, the people who are producing a lot, and you may hear this myth sometimes, oh, I'm so busy, I'm out, and I'm doing things, and it's remarkable to me how the people who are closing the most transactions, now with very little exception, I'm looking at a few of you, and I know there are exceptions out there, and so, but with very little exception, if you're showing up and participating and at the office, I truly, truly believe that that's going to help you create more success, more stability, more consistency, and make your business stronger. So learn from these guys and make sure that you're showing up, that you have a dedicated space in the office to be your place and your spot and watch great things happen. So that's good, guys. Okay, let's keep rolling down that list. So been some shifts in the market, right? Everybody's feeling it a little bit. And my guess would be that from the newest agent to the most seasoned agent in the room, they'd be wanting to know, well, what has changed in your business over the last 6 months, right? So in May, guys, I think I looked it up, and we were around 1,200 active homes on the MLS, and we're just around 10,000 now. A lot of shifts going on, right? And that changes the way things are going. So take us back to April, May, and what you were experiencing versus what life looks like for you now. What shifts are you experiencing in your business? What changes are you making? How are you adapting to that? Anything that you can comment on in that realm. Anybody have something off the top of their head they want to start? Doug?
I'm prospecting more.
Cool. Everybody just went.
Not as much as I want to be, but I know I need to make more contacts.
Yeah. Well, actually, Doug, you and I had a conversation a while back where we were getting ready to make a change to the morning ascent schedule, and I was asking you about what time you prospected and what time do you start? Remind everyone what time you were starting at like 9 a.m. before, right? Now you're going back early?
Yeah, I'm in the office between 7:30 and 8 every day, and from 8 to 8:30, I'm calling my hot leads. Hopefully we're getting to this new expired time, which I love. There's a few right now. So I'm calling those from 8:30 to 9, I'm role playing, and then 9 to 12, I'm prospecting.
Okay, so still role playing, and talk to us about why are you prospecting more? What has changed to make it so that you have to prospect more?
We have to find more motivated people today. So back, May and earlier, if they were breathing and they wanted to sell, we could get it sold. And today, we've got to make sure that they really have a desire to sell, they're willing to make the sacrifice in their mind to sell. Obviously, they're still getting a lot of money.
Yeah.
Years ago, but
It's great.
yeah, motivation needs to be high.
Right, finding the more motivated people and finding the right people. All right, okay, cool. Erin, thoughts?
Sure. So one thing that has always been important to me, but it became less, I don't want to know the right word, maybe valuable in the last couple of years as the market was crazy, but we're kind of back to it, is just really knowing what's going on in the market. For the past couple of years, I've had clients ask me, what offer should we put in on this house? And I'm like, well, let me see if I can find out where we're at and what we're going to have to do with an escalation clause. It was a very different kind of market. I've heard a lot of agents really try to battle what's going on with the market right now and maybe downplay what's happening. But the reality is it's just math. People don't care about the price of a home. They care about what their payment is going to be. And when interest rates go up, what they can afford goes down, and that affects the price of homes, right? So really knowing the stats, paying attention to what's going on in the market, and being able to tell your clients the truth and actually have the answer and know what's going on and be able to speak intelligently to it is of huge importance to me. And then I'll just tell you something that I did a few weeks ago, it was a couple months ago actually, as the market was starting to shift and interest rates had gone up, they dipped back down. People were kind of excited, they dropped back down into the high 4s again for a minute, and I just got on the phone and called every lender that I have a good relationship with, and I said, hey, what plans do you have or programs do you have right now for buying down a rate? If I can get a seller to pay for some closing costs, what do you have? What do you have in ARM programs? Tell me the best of the best that you have. And I was prospecting to loan officers. I was having loan officers prospect to me, just checking in, popping in, but nobody was calling me, telling me, except for Inspiro, you know, I didn't have anyone calling me and telling me this is specifically what we have going on right now that is going to help your clients, and I wanted the information, so I called and got it for myself. I found one of my loan officers I've worked with for a really long time that has amazing options, and I just started letting people know when I talked to them, hey, you can do this, and came up with solutions for people who had been wanting to buy but kind of sitting on the fence, and was able, I mean, I have like 6 closings this month just from that one action and talking to people about what they could do to get them into a home. So being proactive is huge right now.
That's huge. Yes, I hope you're listening to the gold right there. Being proactive has resulted in, she's saying, a direct result of these 6 transactions she's about to close. And because, you know, look, there was a question last year and the year before and the year before of hey, are you really good at your job, or is the market just really good? Are you getting better at what you're doing, or is the market getting better? And it sounds like what I'm hearing so far, and we'll give Chad a chance here, but so far being proactive, doing a little bit more, stepping up in the world of your efforts is going to go a long way right now, because you can't just sit back and wait for people to call you right now. It's really good. Chad.
That's great. Definitely echo what both of these guys said. My approach with the market change has just been, you know, the market is always good for somebody. So I have just kind of, you know, I had to kind of breathe for a second in May when rates went crazy, but like, I just started calling all of those buyers who lost 10 highest and bests and was like, hey, surprise, rates are a little bit higher, but you could actually get a home now, you know? And I've really taken like a pretty taken it in stride, I feel like. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's not as extreme for sellers anymore, but you know, I've just been looking for motivation, like Doug said, and I think that's the trick forever in real estate. There's always people in fantasy land who, you know, waste your time and have you spin your wheels for no reason. And so when I prospect or work my SOI or engage on social media, all I'm trying to do is look for these opportunities or to try to, you know, slide into the right DMs that are going to lead to deals, and it works. You know, people have job changes, people graduate with master's degrees, people have kids, people have death in the family. All of those people are thinking about if their living situation is still suitable for them. And I don't know how many of you guys rent or know people or are close to people who rent, but rents are going up so much. I mean, everyone renewing a lease right now is not happy. So that's another huge talking point for getting first-time buyers in. You can actually do Utah housing again. Like, there's a ton of opportunity for buyers. And I think they're so gun-shy from how it was for the last 18 months that you kind of have to coax them out of their shell a little bit, but I think the conditions are kind of good.
Very cool. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And as a follow-up, Chad, how do I know if I've ever slid into someone's DMs?
It's if you weren't invited.
So, yeah, I'm figuring it out. Cool. And guys, by the way, in a couple minutes, I'm gonna give everyone a chance. I've got tons of questions, but I know that everyone always likes to ask some questions, so I'll probably take a break in a moment from some of my questions to give you guys a chance and see what that looks like for a few minutes. So be preparing some questions for these guys if you want. So one question I'll ask now, and then we'll turn the time over to some of the audience, but we have several new agents. We have several people who have never experienced a shift in the market. I guess I would say, can you take us back to when you were a new agent, right? And knowing what you know now, what pieces of advice would you give to either a new agent or maybe a seasoned agent who's never really elevated their business or stepped it up the way they want? What advice would you give to someone if you could look back and say, oh, I wish I had done this, or if only I'd done this first, I could have figured that out sooner? Anything like that you guys have that you want to add? Doug, start with you. Great.
Sure. So I started real estate a little bit before the last recession, and so I saw a little bit of the good market, and then it really tanked. And I'm so grateful that I got to build my business through that time, because that really built who I was. And if I wasn't in coaching at the time, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So having a coach that you can look to, that can guide you through all the market shifts is essential. And I would say this is really, it's the best time to be in real estate. So you do have to elevate your skills, you do have to become better, but this is really the best kind of market.
Awesome, that's great. And how long, I don't remember if you said, but how long until you did get into coaching?
I was 6 months till I got into coaching. Yeah,
good to know. Okay, great. Chad, do you have one for us?
Yeah, I got something. I think it really matters who you spend your time with. Part of the reason why I love being at Everest is that there are people next to me who are doing double or triple what I'm doing. So, I was recruited once by another brokerage and I was kind of interested actually. And I was going to these meetings with this lady, and one of the times that I met with her, she said, oh, like, you'll be our top agent, like, when you come over here, like, based off of my, like, MLS thing. And I was like, I literally stopped. I was like, I don't want to, like, I want to be the top agent, but I don't want what my status quo to be the best. You know what I mean? Like, I want to grow and learn. So there's a famous quote about that you are the sum of, or the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you're new and you're spending the time with people who make the same amount of money as you and your goal is to increase, I would recommend trying to find or align with people who are where you want to be or ahead of you. I used to go to lunch every day with Dave Parker and Phil Harvey, who I aspire to make the type of money that they make. I still don't, I'm still trying, but like, I'm getting closer,
That's great. That's good advice. Erin?
So I agree. I think who you surround yourself with is huge, because I think there's just thinking back, so when I started in real estate, we were really struggling financially. And I had a really compelling why going into real estate. And it was that I had 4 young kids, I had an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and 2-year-old twins. And my husband had just taken like more than a 50% pay cut. And I was like, if I don't bring money in to this household, we're gonna have to sell this house and we're gonna have to move like 15 miles away to a little condo. That's about what we could afford if I didn't start bringing money in. And I always had this like, if I'm gonna be away from my kids working, I wanna make the most amount of money possible. I really want to bring home as much as I possibly can, and I could control it with real estate eventually if I just worked hard enough. And so it was this combination of a really compelling why. Like, I don't want to move to a 3-bedroom condo. That was it for me. And it was also this belief in myself that I could do it. And I've had this conversation with George before, like, what is it that makes one person have this undoubting belief in themselves and someone else just filled with doubt? And we're like, I don't know what it is, because George has just this belief in himself that he will accomplish his dreams. And I have that similar belief that I'm like, I know if I put something out there that I want, I will find a way to do it. And so I've always told people that, you know, I'm coaching or working with, like, borrow from me for a minute, but you're gonna have to figure this out yourself. You have got to know what your why is, and you've got to make it compelling. And all of you have one, but sometimes it's hard to kind of hone in on that and figure out what it is, you know? Maybe like, well, I want to move to a different house. Okay, that's a good why, but like, what happens if you don't, you know? What is the worst thing that could happen in your life if you don't make this happen? Figure that out, and figure out at the root of it all, what is it that makes you get to the office at 8 a.m. in the morning and hustle harder than anyone else? And then, like, what is it that is missing from the belief in yourself? Where are you lacking? What's the messaging that you're telling yourself? And that's where surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who believe in themselves, I think is huge. And having that be your proximity so that you can learn that for yourself if you don't have it. And that requires a lot of self-reflection and a lot of honesty and truth to yourself, where you're really at with yourself. And we talk about the mind being the most powerful part of all of this, and it really is, because if you don't think that you can do it, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you know that in your gut, you think you're gonna fail, you don't think you're gonna do it, guess what's gonna happen? Like, you have to be able to look in the mirror at yourself. It doesn't matter what you tell your coach or the person sitting next to you. You have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and have that grit and that determination to know that you will not let yourself down, that it's only you that you have to prove yourself to, and you have to have whatever it takes, and you all have it inside of you. Every single person in this room has it inside of you. You just have to dig deep enough and find it and just fight for yourself and never quit on yourself. That's really, like, those two things combined are it right there.
It's great advice. All right, guys, give them a round of applause. Questions. This is your chance to ask these guys all the good stuff, and, you know, maybe even some questions they don't want to answer, but they're too ashamed to say no comment in front of the group. So it's good. We got one. Talk real loud.
Oh no.
That's good.
You have picked up a team of C, D, and E, and among them they have done 102 transactions already this year.
Yeah.
So my question is, are you part of the team or you are individual? Number one question. Number two, what is your personal portfolio, if you may share? Are you also an investor and do you hold a real estate portfolio?
Great. Okay, good question. So number one, are you a part of a team or are you doing this as an individual? And question number two, share with us what you can about your portfolio. How are you investing your dollars? Some of that. So that's great. Hey, who wants to go first? Doug?
Sure. I have 2 part-time agents that work with me, buyer's agents, and yes, I own rental property. I own 7 rental properties.
All right. I am part of a team for sure, but I do not take leads from the team. So all of my transactions are my personal deals. And I do have an amazing licensed assistant named Davis, shout out, who's been helping me for the last year. So it's just kind of us, then of course the support of my big team, the elite team. And I started buying rental properties with a partner, so I own 4 properties with a partner, and then I own 1 on my own, so. Yeah.
Let's hold the applause for this. If you're gonna clap, give a really big, energetic clap. If you're gonna give a weird clap, it's better to wait. Can we all agree on that? All right.
Okay, I am an individual producer working on a team, working on starting a small team. And I have had 4 properties total, and life circumstances change things, and I have 1 with a basement apartment that I rent out right now. So I count that as 1 rental, and I'm working my way back up. So I've done it once before, and I will build it again.
Very cool. Okay, good question. Okay, other questions? All right.
So time is money, and as you become successful, you are probably filtering out, like you're saying before, people are just not worth your time. What does that filtering process look like for you?
Okay, so the question is, time is money. how do you decide from a client standpoint, who are you going to spend your time with? So yeah, all right, so yeah, time is money. Erin, go ahead.
So in the beginning, as a new agent, I think all of us kind of learn the business and we waste a lot more time with people because we're learning from them. It's an education, right? You learn how to coach people by coaching them and then realizing it's costing you something and you improve your leadership skills and you start coaching people better. So that's how you filter people out, is you improve your skill sets as a leader and as a coach to your clients. And you just eliminate people that are gonna be time wasters because you are improving yourself. And that just goes back to the number one investment you can always make is in yourself first. The better you become at learning your trade and your skill, the better you're gonna be at just naturally attracting the things that are gonna be more worth your time. You won't even have to filter things out, it will just happen.
Yeah, very good.
That's a great answer. It's that.
Let's give a kind of clap for that.
I will add one thing, on top of that, becoming good at leverage, right? So then once you're tapped out, you have to get other people or set up an assistant or buyer's agents to start to kind of help you branch out. So there's an analogy in a book about like juggling, like how many balls do you have in the air at one time? And I think that like we're always kind of keeping a handful of our pipeline or our hunt list or our sphere kind of warm and seeing who's the next to be the one to buy a house. You can't always guess, but you can have 6 or 7 or 10 on your board that you're kind of keeping warm at all times, you know?
That's great. Doug?
One thing to add is just, I'd say standards. As you get further along in the business, you change your standards and you pre-qualify harder. Your standards for what they say on the pre-qualification questions become different. And yeah, it's really standard. So whether it's buyer or seller, last year when one of my buyer's agents she had like 12 exclusive buyer agency agreements. I can't even remember that word. Buyer agency agreement signed, and she was showing constantly back then, you couldn't get anything accepted. And we really started ratcheting down her standards for the clients that she was working with. And suddenly she got 5 under contract and got rid of some, and things started moving a lot better.
Yeah, and that goes back to Chad's thought about leverage too. Like, if you're doing well, right, I'll ask people, some of you have been asked this question by me, like, depends how your bank account looks right now, right? And how you want to spend some of your time. And there's no doubt about it that the stronger your bank account looks, the more specific and picky you get to be about who you work with from a qualification standpoint. But the great question and statement of your time is money. And that's the asset that we have as real estate agents, is your time. And so I've said this for years, and I think it's a really good thought of your ability and your willingness to pre-qualify is a direct reflection on how much you value your time. And I could say it again a different way, your ability or inability and your willingness or your unwillingness to pre-qualify someone is a direct reflection on how you value your time. And so it's so essential that you really do believe that the way in which you spend your time, I mean, sometimes it might feel like I'm going to go to a listing appointment even though I don't really know. By the time you've prepared for that appointment, driven to the appointment, gone to the appointment, driven back from the appointment, I mean, you're probably somewhere at minimum in that range of 2 hours of time just wasted. And whether that 2 hours should be spent creating new potential clients, juggling your current, whatever it looks like, right? Or it's out doing something. This is really important in the world of pre-qualification. If I look at one of the number one complaints and concerns that's on the list here to talk about balance, right? The buzzword, and everyone's too busy. There's not enough time in the day. My family doesn't get to see me, right? Perhaps if you weren't going on unqualified appointments, right? And spending your time differently. So yeah, I could say, don't spend that time going on that appointment because it's a waste. You could prospect more, but it could also be, hey, you could also go be with your family a little bit more. if you spent that time. And that's one of the ways to ease the burden in your life, in your world, from a pure balance standpoint. Sound good? Great. Go ahead.
I love Justin Newby said a long time ago that he gave up like a season of his life to build what he's built. We'll talk about that sometimes. And I really think there's something to be said, where it doesn't matter what you're doing. When you start something new, if you're newer in this industry, there is a season of life to pay for to get to where we're at now. We all have some peace in our lives. We all have some quality of life outside of this business. But I bet all three of us could tell you a period of our life where we hustled our asses off. We were working nights, we were working weekends, we were working 50, 60 hours a week. We're on our computers till midnight, and we worked our little tails off to get to where we're at now. And so it's easy to listen to us, give you these answers of we'll do this, but the reality is you just have to work so damn hard and pay the price. Pay the price, and you can be sitting up here someday telling everyone else, yeah, just work hard and you'll get there. There is a season to pay for it. When you're an entrepreneur in any sense of the way, there is a season of hustle that you have to pay your dues to be able to get to the other side and enjoy some of the freedom that comes from it. But don't be confused that there is a price to pay for it.
And the light at the end of the tunnel is just sliding into people's DMs. Go ahead, Rich.
Maybe you answered this before. What is DM?
All right. This is a bad joke gone worse now.
It's a direct message, it's just like an Instagram message.
All right, I'm terrible, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
On the topic of time management, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on open houses. If you think there's worth the time, if you sit down yourselves, what are your thoughts?
Okay, open houses, are they a good idea? Do these guys participate in them? Or use them?
I think I've probably done 5 open houses in my career, and I don't do them. I would encourage people to do them if you've got nothing else going on, but I do think there's more effective uses of your time.
They weren't the last 5 weeks, right?
Right.
Okay. That was funnier than you guys gave credit.
I agree with Doug. I don't do them very often. I think they can, if they're done right, be a good way to market. I think if it's in your own neighborhood, there may be some reasons why you might want, or your farm or your own neighborhood, for some kind of visibility with your neighbors, but I don't typically do them.
It just depends on the market for me, and they change the way you do them for the market. Right now, I don't see the point of doing them right now in this market. Last year, when you had 40 people show up, it was a great tool to, one, meet buyers who were unrepresented, so you could pick up a lot of buyers at open houses, and if you did it right, you could create this sense of urgency where you could really leverage the offers coming in as far as non-refundable earnest money, some of that stuff we were dealing with. But now, it's a different story. People aren't going to open house, so test it, and if there's something that you come up with that's working really well for you, then do it. But it varies market to market, in my opinion.
Yeah, varies market to market, and then agents, of course. Like, I know some, and it seems to be a topic people are very passionate about. Sometimes people will hold an open house because that's what a client expects from them. I've had conversations with clients. Actually, as Alma Merrill's client once, and I hope he doesn't mind me telling the story, but I thought it was pretty remarkable. He had a client that felt like an open house was necessary, and Alma had his paperwork in order and his marketing strategy and everything. He's like, that's not part of the package that I offer. We've just discussed this at length, right? Remember that, Alma? And it was just, this isn't how we do it, and look, I'm in total agreement with what's been said. And are there opportunities in open houses and ways to make them more effective and have, especially a year ago when there were so many people? Absolutely. But I've sat in open houses, guys, where I spent the first hour trying to decide how right or wrong it was if I turned the TV on to watch TV at their home, early in my career. I mean, I seriously sat there, and then within an hour, my tie was undone. I was eating Ritz crackers on their couch, and just like, because there was no way anyone was walking in. Now, in that same example, right, that's a huge waste of time. And even though if that satisfies my client or my seller's desire for an open house, I had to have the leadership and the ability to go to people and say, I don't do open houses, they're not an effective use of any of our time. Anybody that could potentially, that was a conversation that I had to lead out on. The other side to that is, look, if you do believe you can have something effective happen, if people are going to show up, if it is something that's important to your client, perhaps then that's the time that you are working on your systems and strategies for a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon, making some prospecting calls. So whether or not that time is spent effectively is right in your hands. Alma's hand is up.
Just one
I
quick
suspect
thing.
to comment, not question.
Yeah,
All right.
so on open houses, what I recommend is and specifically if you're a new agent or you're an old agent like me, and if you're running lean on listings and you need to get some more, I will go attend for sale by owner open houses, meet the sellers, create a great impression, leave them my information, become kind of an asset for them in their process. And then I've been able to I score a ton of listings off of attending for sale by owner open houses.
Okay. So putting the pieces together, Alma loves open houses.
No, I don't offer them, but I will attend some of them.
Okay, go ahead.
So I guess this is more from like the lending standpoint, so new to zero. I'm not new to the industry, but where I came from, my things were all kind of good, and things were really easy. And now I'm in this market where I'm competing with my loans, I'm competing with other agents, I'm competing with other real estate agents. What advice do you have for a lender that's trying to shimmy their way in with other seasoned agents? Because I'm super great in the eyes of everyone else.
Great question. Cool. So what does it take to compete? What advice do you have for a lender to help become part of the equation? That's good.
I think this is a great question because I think it can segue from like a lender to an agent that's also trying to get new business. And I will always go back to know your product, which if you're an agent, that's the market right now. You have got to educate yourself on what's going on, especially now more than ever, and be a solution, be a resource for people. You cannot wing it right now. And so I would say, as a lender, if you know, like I was talking about earlier, like what are your products that are gonna really help out right now with prices still being high and not having adjusted completely for interest rates going up. I heard this week that interest rates might continue to go up. I don't know if that's true or not, we never know, but I heard up to 7% by the end of the year. And if that happens, it's gonna create even more of a gap, right? So what products and solutions do you have for agents that are going to help them help their buyers? And then agents, take this information to your buyers, and as you're prospecting, rather than calling someone on the phone and just like overloading them, and vomiting in their ear with information they don't care about, ask them questions, get really good at asking the right questions right now, more than ever before, to find out what it would take for them to be able to, accomplish the dream of their next move right now. Is that a dream of theirs? What is it gonna take to help them do that? And then have enough options and solutions to be able to kind of like customize for each person what is going to work for that specific person. And if you do that as a lender with your agents and find solutions for them that they can take to their people, you're gonna become a resource and they're gonna trust you to be able to help their client. Because all we wanna do is help our clients. You can help us do that, then you've got your way in.
That's great. If interest rates go above 7, I bet Alma starts doing open houses.
No.
All right. Guys, any thoughts you want to add to that?
I second that, much more eloquent than I could have said.
Chad agrees. Okay, other questions, please.
So in the early days of your career, what was your main source for business, finding leads?
Mine was expired and for sale by owners. And then as I built up my database.
Yeah, I joined a team that provided internet leads, so just people that had signed up on websites looking for homes. And that's exclusively what I did for like 4 years.
I also started on a team for 3 years and worked leads and built up my own database.
Web leads, for you too? Okay, cool. All right, so web leads, FISBOs, expireds, and then obviously they've said, that this is all turned into, all these guys are really killing their SOI now. Brandy?
I have a question for you guys, because I've noticed this in changing the way that I'm approaching my buyers now. How are you guys negotiating your contract? How are you looking for, like you say, be a solution to your buyers, if you have buyers? Are you guys looking for homes that have been sitting on the market longer and learning, and how strong are your negotiation skills in getting the price to where they need it to be? Because that's what I've taken, like just from training and stuff, is like, now is the time to negotiate. How are you negotiating it? Are you negotiating the best still, and what is that?
Okay, so basically, just with the shifts in the market stuff, and now when you're negotiating a deal, I think this was effective on buyer and seller end. What are you doing right now to be a great negotiator for your clients, buyers or sellers?
I get this one. I think a big piece of what I look for when I'm working with any client is a high amount of motivation from them. And so I am emotional, and I think the buying and selling process is more emotional than analytical most of the time. So I don't promise that I'm always getting the lowest price, and I'm not feeling like, oh, I'm negotiating like in a way that's like sharking the sellers right now. I feel like the majority of my deals and contracts that I'm putting together, I'm able to tap into that specific client's needs and make sure that they're met and they're settling on the price or the interest rate. The same way that a year ago, people were settling on the high price or the bidding war or whatever. So I don't look at it, I'm not saying that like I don't try to get the lowest price, I do, but at the end of the day, our job is to connect motivated buyers and sellers. So I think I just look for that motivation. If someone's in fantasy land, I'm not gonna waste my time there.
Yeah. So with the seller side, because the seller is so used to the market before, how are you approaching that with the listing agent?
I personally, I'm not gonna talk too much, sorry. But like, I mean, I personally am I do all my heavy lifting up front. I'm setting realistic expectations about when I'm gonna ask for price reductions, what type of offer I would suggest that they take. And once I get the listing, I'm doing whatever I can to get them the most that the market will bear. But I mean, on my last few listings, I've gotten full price, and I mean, I did one small price reduction, but like, I priced it in a way that it would sell, and it did.
I'll add to that. On the listing side, one of the big changes since May is just being a lot more aggressive on price. So today I'm pricing it below the last couple sales, or similar to what the first of the year was. And if they go longer than 2-3 weeks on the market, we're either taking 5% reduction, hopefully not a 10% reduction, but we're being very aggressive. And I coach my buyer's agents the same way. Like if you're making an offer on a property that's been on the market for longer than the average time on the market, then, and I always say, call the other agent, ask the activity, what it's been like in the offers, but you're looking at least 5% off.
Yeah.
Because that's what they should be doing to get it sold. So if you're making an offer after it's been on the market for that long, it's a rule of thumb, it's not perfect always.
I would just add also that as a majority, buyers pretty consistently are looking for the best house for them at their budget, whatever that means to them, right? Sellers are looking to sell it for the most amount possible. Last year, the conversation with sellers was, we're gonna list it at this price, we might sell it for up to this price, we could sell it for more, because people are crazy right now, but we're gonna start here, and then we're just gonna see where the market takes it, and it could end up really good for you. That was because I didn't know, it was bidding wars like crazy, right? Now it's backwards. We are gonna list it just a little bit below what our comps are, because we've seen a dip, and I've called listings that are under contract, and the agents that were willing to give me the information consistently are under contract for below what it's listed at on MLS. If you've made those calls, you know, okay? So you just tell your clients the truth, but you have to gather the information. You have to be in the market and know what's going on so that you can be honest with people. And then you tell them, we're gonna list it below this, because everything's selling below what it's listed for right now, and you could sell it for less. And
probably you could sell it for this much less, maybe more, we're just gonna have to see. And I will use that exact example. A year ago, this is the conversation that I was having with my listings, with my sellers. Now, this is the conversation that I have to have with people, and I will be that blunt and tell them the truth, because they just wanna sell their house, like as painlessly and as quick as possible. That will never, ever change. The less honest you are with sellers right now, the more painful it's gonna become for them, and the more painful it's going to become for you. So make the calls before, make that a part of your listing presentation. Call the under contracts in the neighborhood, call the listings in the neighborhood, and talk to those agents and prepare yourself better for those listings so that you have the answers to them. So you can't be honest with them if you don't know what's going on.
Do you guys feel that, great answers, by the way. Do you feel like there are sellers right now that are still having the expectation of the appraisal guarantees and hard money, earnest money, and all that stuff? And if there are, what are you saying to them up front, to get over that?
I'm asking the questions up front. What do you know about the market? And just letting them talk. And so I then know, how do I go from here? If their expectations are not realistic, then we either coach them on that, or I don't take the listing. Right now, 58% of the homes that are on the market have been on the market more than 30 days. So 58% of the market is overpriced.
Yes, I love what you just said. Did you guys hear Doug said something, a lot of really neat things, but you hear him say, or I don't take the listing. Pretty remarkable idea there, that you wouldn't take a listing. But if it doesn't work, going back to time is money, has anyone here ever taken an overpriced listing? Raise your hand, please. Right? And has anyone ever had that conversation with a seller at the table that we'll try it, but we're gonna reduce the price if it doesn't work in the next week or so? Anyone said that? Anyone ever have the seller not let you reduce the price even after, keep going? And did that experience end up being one of the worst experiences? And you got treated like dirt, and all of that. Don't be afraid to not take the listing. Have the leadership to teach them the way and share with them the right way. But as Doug was talking, I was picturing that meme, where Homer Simpson is like sliding back into the trees quietly. It's like, as soon as someone starts talking about these tough expectations, and if it doesn't look like it can change, just remove yourself from the situation. Say goodbye, but you don't have to engage in that relationship. Do what Doug said earlier and find the more motivated people. It's really important. Okay, cool. Couple more if there's any more. Do we have any other thoughts, questions? Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I just have one. Knowing you guys are incredible agents, but you're also incredible people, could you just share a little bit about some of the things you do in your communities? We've talked all business, right? Tell us a little bit more about what you do to get involved in the communities that you serve, because I know in short conversations with each of you guys do far more than just do business.
So can I interrupt? I'm actually just gonna ask you guys, that's a great question, and it goes right along with kind of what I wanted to close with each of you if we can. So thank you, Jim, that's good. Is we do this thing a lot, guys, this exercise where we talk about your dreams, especially if you're a newer agent or someone that's struggling. One of the things I love to do is talk about, hey, what do you want? What do you want to buy? What do you want life to look like? Where do you want to travel? And how do you want to give back to others? Because I think, as Jim said too, look, we are entrepreneurs. Aaron talked about that earlier, and I believe entrepreneurs have this desire to help other people and elevate others. And so I guess the thought that I would throw out for each of us in closing to share would be to talk a little bit about how has real estate changed your life? How has succeeding in real estate changed your life? And specifically in kind of the areas of how have you been able to bless the lives of others? And then some of the fun of, well, what have you been able to buy and enjoy that you wouldn't? Where have you been able to travel that perhaps you wouldn't have been able to? And how has it improved your lifestyle and your ability to bless the lives of others? And then we'll close up. All right, you guys. Share the great
Go
things you've
ahead,
done.
go
That was
ahead.
a lot of questions.
I know, let me just say, how has real estate blessed your life and your ability to have fun stuff, travel places, and also give back to others?
Okay. You know, my why is all about my family. So it's given me the opportunity to give them so many opportunities in life. You know, whether it's, you know, paying for, you know, some expensive dance or basketball coaching, or, you know, travel to Mexico a lot, which we love to do. Or you know, buy rental properties that will create future, you know, a legacy for my family. So it's, I mean, it's all about my family. Now I have, as I've just recently started to add a couple buyer's agents, I've seen the opportunity there that I can give to them. I can share the knowledge that I have with them and help them do the same thing that real estate has done for me. And so I think I missed a bunch of questions.
No, that's great, yeah, and that's a great way to contribute, is just, which frankly, we don't see enough of in this business, which I think we do such a good job of at Everest, is helping that next generation of agents succeed, and have some good stuff as well, and I love that, that's great.
One thing I can add to that too is, you know, as I've built up a database of past clients, and I love the investment side, and so I've more and more I've been working with past clients that want to invest in real estate. So being able to help them invest in real estate, see them build their wealth that way has been, I mean, it's done a lot for me, but I know it's helped them a lot. I love that part.
It's great, love it. Okay, Chad, next.
Yeah, I mean, I echo kind of what Doug said, but I'm in the stage of life with little kids. I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old, and we have one coming next month. So ready or not. But you know, I feel like, you know, you asked about how am I contributing to my community, and I felt like, oh my gosh, like I'm not doing enough for my community, but I feel like I am in that stage with my little kids and kind of building my family that has been a challenge, but also really amazing. And then I get a lot of fulfillment through my team, because of my position on our team is like our trainer. So we have about 20 agents who I kind of assist and train and help kind of grow, and I've just loved that aspect of it, seeing other people make their first 6 figures and buy their first homes and their second homes and their rentals and those kinds of things. That really lights me up. I like that a lot. So yeah, that's probably what I'd say.
Sweet.
And I think, you know, we're just in an industry where it's a growth-centered industry. And this company specifically is so focused on the personal development and the growth side of things. So that combined with, you know, we're talking about shifting markets, and that's something that never changes in real estate. We're always in a shifting market of some sort, and we're always having to grow and adapt and change the way that we're doing things and become better versions of ourselves. And as we do that, the people that we interact with, because we are improving ourselves and we're becoming more enlightened in a sense, we're sharing those experiences with people around us. I have teenagers right now, and I really feel like, in a sense, in some ways, I'm not a better mother for having this career, and in some ways, I'm a much better mother for having this career because of the growth and the personal development and the conversations that I have with my own children. And then they all have friends that, you know, my house is the house where people come over and I'm having conversations with their friends, and kind of like that person that they can be open with, because I talk about the growth. I talk about, I'm going to an event this weekend that I'm calling my senior in high school and his best friend out of school, and they're coming with me. And it's a seminar on personal growth and development, you know, and so the people around us are exposed to the things that we expose ourselves to. And if you're not at that stage where if you're in the stage where you still have little kids and you're not like, oh, I'm a part of this community foundation, or I do PTA or whatever, just know that the more that you develop and grow yourself, the more the people in your lives are going to benefit from that, because you're going to have different conversations with them and you're going to empower people. One of my best friends is here listening to me today, who years ago had an opportunity to be an escrow assistant. And now she's the manager of her escrow office in Orem, you know, and it's just being around people who can push you and cheer you on and just believe in you, for lack of a better word. When you do that for yourself, you just innately do that for other people. So I think that's been one of the biggest blessings, especially being with Everest. And I can tell you, most of you know the drastic changes that have taken place in my life over the last 2-3 years. And there's no way, I just don't believe that I ever would have been able to push through the things that I've had to push through and find the strength within me if I had not been in proximity with people who believed in me to the degree that they did, because it just gave me this greater belief in myself. And when you do that, you will do that for the people in your life around you, and that's the gift right there.
Powerful, awesome, guys. Hey, let's give these three a huge round of applause. So much great information shared. I hope you took some notes. I hope that you'll take a few minutes today to just decide, hey, what did I learn today that I'm going to implement immediately? There's some real life-changing stuff we heard today. Thank you for being here. Can't wait for our next summit. Go out and make it a great day, guys. Thank you.